Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy on our Borderlands 4 video, and today we got a major patch for Borderlands 4. Now I haven't read through all of these changes yet, so we're gonna be reading through them together. Really hoping for some great things. Just like from an overview perspective, I did see that we've got a photo mode, Harlowe Reworks, and more. And they also put out a roadmap for the rest of the year to give us an idea of when we can expect a certain amount of content to be coming and what they're working on for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let's do this. Also, I apologize. I have a pretty bad cold, so if I sound sniffly and nasally, that is my bad. All right, new content. Photo mode is available to all Borderlands 4 players, so you can capture your mayhem-fueled moments or Shireen's shots of Kairos. While photo mode is active, you can adjust the position of the camera, movement controls, field of view, depth. Cool. We finally got our photo mode. I've been hoping for that for thumbnails, so that's actually very, very helpful for me. Progression and rewards. They're changing some contract missions. Order troops now progress when killing enemies. Looks like they're fixing some of these contract missions, which were breaking. Vault card challenges, they're also fixing. Will now increase when conditions are met. Vault card weekly will no longer reset with a save load. Will now progress as intended. Lots of like progression things weren't working. Speaking of progression, the Chaos and the Midnight Defiance are now removed from the Phosphine challenge. Obviously, you couldn't get these to like drop normally. So shouldn't have been in the Phosphine challenge. Good change there. Updated Mallow on status effects to better identify what triggers the status effect, leading to better tracking on challenges. A bunch of miscellaneous things. They've added a true mode is now able to be consistently enabled for newly created level 30 UVH characters, and now there will be a tutorial for true mode. That's pretty good. There's creating a new character in multiplayer will now receive intended rewards. And then we get to Vault Hunter changes, address reported issues where critical hit damage sometimes wasn't being applied to critical hits. Cool. Specializations, Daredevil, action skill cooldown rate has been adjusted to 0.5, and a multiplicative action skill bonus has been added. I believe this is the passive, like when you're just like speccing into your points for your specializations. So that actually should be helpful. You know, there's not many, if any, multipliers in Borderlands 4, so getting a multiplier to your action skill damage should be helpful. I'm imagining like pure action skill builds will benefit from that pretty heavily. Runner melee damage bonus is now multiplicative instead of additive. That is very good. And then we get Harlowe the Gravatar skill rework. Dev note, we're making several changes to 0 point as another step towards making the skill tree feel more satisfying and better balanced relative to Harlow's other trees, because we're changing the fundamental behavior of 0 point to include the old inertia augment. Huge. In the base skill, we want to see how these changes balance out before doing more work on the rest of the tree. We have our eye on a few other passives that may be candidates for some buffs, but between the recent passive buffs that we've implemented several weeks ago combined with today's changes, we'll revisit those in the future once we've gathered adequate feedback on the current changes. Long term, we want to ensure that each Vault Hunter has plenty of build diversity, with each action skill having its own pros and cons. If and when we see one falling behind, we'll continue to explore changes like today. 0 point now includes the benefit of the previous inertia augment. Killing an enemy in stasis now resets the duration. Searching for a new target and makes the duration decrease faster. Inertia augment changed, updated to increase Harlow's slam damage. Whenever she slams an enemy, create a mini unstable energy pocket. Pocket projectiles that randomly deal cryo radiation damage. Additionally, she also gains increased status effect damage and status effect chance. This effect stacks. I think that's a good first step to improving Blue Tree Harlowe. I actually wrote like quite literally an essay on how to fix Blue Tree Harlowe. I posted this on Twitter. I also sent it to the devs. They have seen it. And one of the things I recommended was baking in inertia that makes your bubble seek out enemies, because it just feels really bad when you use your action skill, kill an enemy, and then it goes on like a 30-second cooldown. Even when you have like really good cooldown uptime, it just feels not good. So I'm glad that they did that. However, you know, that will help Blue Tree. I still think there's a lot of things that Blue Tree needs to really be successful. Probably not going to read through this whole thing, but I really need them to fix Strange Attractor. This is an augment that ricochets bullets to enemies in stasis. Ricocheting to enemies in stasis is just significantly worse than just straight up ricochet chance. Both Amara and Maya, who are like phase grass characters, had indiscriminate and chain reaction, which were really important parts of their mobbing kit. Maya's chain reaction, you needed to have an enemy in her bubble. but then it would ricochet around, and it was really important. This only ricochets to enemies that are already floating, which are like, you know what I mean? You're not going to have more than like a few enemies floating at a time versus like when the mob density is crazy. It just doesn't really do anything. So I really need them to fix that. I really would like to see them rework Domino Effect, which is the chance to re-trigger shared damage. This is re-triggering your shared damage at a percent chance, but your shared damage is less than 10% of your total damage. If this just had a chance to re-trigger like splash damage, as in if I dealt splash damage, I had a chance to cause that damage again, would be way more helpful for like single target on the tree. I also said that they should reduce the cooldown on the stun lock. This is that when you crit an enemy, you can put them in stasis. It's on a 10-second cooldown. Inertia being baked in will definitely help, but you know, most builds are through a group of enemies in 10 seconds. Only being able to put an enemy in stasis for free every 10 seconds feels bad at endgame, especially with how fast, you know, most builds clear. So I was hoping that they would change that down to like 4 seconds. Change another cool. There's like one of the big issues with Blue Tree, honestly, is that there's like I think it's 4 or 5 skills that all just grant cooldown, and the like legendary class mod for Harlowe is that if you hit an enemy with your damage and you proc a status effect on them, you just get all your cooldown back. So there's like 5 or 4 skills that like just do absolutely nothing. And so there's so many like things that they could do. And then all of the damage increases in Blue Tree are all just like cryo damage. That's like a bonus cryo, but you have hardly any base damage increases in Blue Tree. And so I really think that they need to add some more like base damage increases so that the bonus crowd damage is actually doing something. Because right now you're like only like real big base damage increases, like 30% gun damage, which isn't quite cutting it. So definitely a good start. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit disappointed that there's not more things. It's just like one augment being changed and then another augment. I'll definitely give it a go. Hopefully it feels a lot better to play. But I don't think it's going to solve all of our issues. It does sound like they're doing this as step 1, as part of like a multi-step process to make it better. But once again, we're like 5 months out now, and the skill tree has been like pretty much unplayable since launch. All right, next. Amon the Forge Knight. Amon now consistently deals bonus cryo damage when equipping Cryonic Thrum augment in multiplayer. Prevented unintended increases in the number of segments in the Vault Hunter bar when Amon activates his action skill. Dragon's Breath now applies properly to Ripper weapons with beams. Firewall Forge skill will now block Moonman Callus projectile attacks. Okay, so not too much for Amon, if anything. Vex, address the cooldown for Prismatic Ichor, sometime resetting when applying a status effect. I think that's good. Prismatic Ichor is a very strong skill, but I remember her like clones could break it. So that potentially could be very helpful. I'd have to look into that more. Phase Pocket passive no longer resets the Taser Underbarrel magazine when using Vladoff enhancement. Healing numbers now present correctly when Spectres are using Ripper Legendary Sniper Rifle Tank Buster. Addressing Carnate action skill behavior so that it continues to work while using the Vibe Check capstone with Legendary class mod Technomancer. Okay, so more so just bug fixes for the rest of the Vault Hunters. General gameplay. Bloomreaper. Falling into the fog will now consistently kill players instead of having them fall out of the map. The purple rift now only appears after the boss is defeated. Address an instance of Bloomreaper keeping the invincible health bar in the second phase. Address an exploit that will allow UVH time trial rewards to be obtained while not in UVH. Address an issue that would cause the chest for platinum rewards to be empty. That's good. Disc shooting heavy weapons will now damage Bloomreaper's crystals. Hallelujah. Ordnance Amon kind of got the short end of the stick on Bloomreaper because some of his best weapons, like the disc jockey, just didn't work on crystals. So you didn't really have a great way of going at them if you were playing an Ordnance build. So that is a good change. Still certain things that don't work on Bloomreaper crystals. I believe dots don't work. And so we'd love to see that changed as well. Vile creeps are no longer getting stuck in the air. All right, changes to Bloomreaper. I still just don't think Bloomreaper is an enjoyable fight. Like, you know, I got on and I've done the Malawan takedown like 1,000+ times because it's really enjoyable. I don't really enjoy doing Bloomreaper, mainly because of the, like, just the amount of BS that's going on, but mainly because there's just the immune phases. Like, you're just out of gameplay for so long. So I really wish they would adjust that. World events and bosses increase the spawn rate of world bosses in the punitive manufactorium area. Rewards will now reliably spawn when completing the airship or the Gordello world events. Minister Screw is no longer able to be frozen. Okay. Loot and stations. UVH levels now increase dedicated loot drop levels. The higher the level, the higher the chance of dedicated loot dropping. That's definitely something we're going to need to test out. I was a little frustrated with their changes to the drop rates off of the fact that they weren't all that significant. However, now we've got the buff drop rates, and now on top of that, your UVH levels will increase your dedicated drop rates. This not only should make farming better, but it also should make it, you should now feel like you have a reason to farm on UVH 6, which was definitely a real issue. Even the best players were farming on like UVH 1 because they didn't feel like it was worth to farm on UVH 6, even if they had a crazy build. So hopefully this means that you are rewarded for playing on the harder difficulties, and that is something that's been desperately needed. Change the respawn station outside of the Umbral Foundry to fast travel. Prevented loot items from dropping into unintended areas after defeating the Oppressor or killing all enemies in Ripper Drill Site and Saw Clench. Next we get to guns and gear. Enhancement. Adjusted the Underdog enhancement to only apply to Vladoff underbarrel weapons as intended. This will remove an unintended damage bonus that was happening when some guns switched their ammo or element types. We also updated Wombo Combo rockets, so they now correctly count as underbarrel damage. Oh, shit. That's crazy. Wombo combos now get underbarrel damage. I mean, that's at minimum, if you're using that enhancement, a 50% increased damage for the Wombo combos rockets. That's pretty crazy. Tier Legendary Assault Rifle Chuck now throws properly when the player has 120% gun reload speed. Addressed behavior that prevented homing on the third gun spawned by Tier reloads when specific conditions were met. Removed extra gun from Tier shotguns with Ripper mags. Maliwan, the Oh My God will no longer consume energy shield when Overshield is active. Cool. That's a buff. Only active elemental status effects will spread when killing an enemy with Maliwan licensed parts with Maliwan enhancements and Transfuser Core. Gotcha. Singularities now spawn correctly on Maliwan sniper rifles with Singularity grenade launchers. I'm wondering if this is a change to the like action skill, like being able to spread action skills or status effects with your action skill. If you had like holding a Maliwan, not sure. Jacobs, address Jacobs' ricochet damage to apply the intended amount of damage on Jacobs' weapons. See, like, this is a kind of note that I wish that they would, like, elaborate a bit more on. Like, what is actually going on? Was it doing less, more? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really know what to take away from that. Torg Legendary Pistol Hardpoint will fire as intended with Teeter licensed parts shooting. Order Legendary Sniper Rifle Rooker Needle projectiles will consistently home in on enemies at a distance with the Callous Augment. It will also no longer spawn unintended underbarrel projectiles with Jacob's licensed parts and Jacob's enhancements with Leaper and Bounce Pass. Okay, so a nerf to the Rooker. Ripper Legendary Shield Watts for Dinner will now consistently give the Overshield in multiplayer. Weapons with COV mags now continue to fire when using bullets to spare firmware level 3 with the Ventilator enhancement. Cool. Dataless SMGs with the Overcharge attachment and Ripper mags will now inherit the Ripper mag charge up time. Atlas Sure Shot perk is no longer triggered by Rafa's Peacebreaker cannon skill while equipping a weapon with Atlas licensed parts with the Sure Shot enhancement. Updated Tracker Antenna and Trauma Bond to no longer incorrectly apply to gear with Atlas parts. Ordnance heavy weapons now cause damage to boom drones. So, like, I don't know. I get really excited when I saw all of these manufacturers getting listed, but a lot of them are more so bug fixes, which is fine. But I still, like, I would personally love to see some shifts to the meta. I think that's part of what kept Borderlands 3 engaging for me for so many hours, is that, like, you know, every few weeks we'd have a completely new build meta or something that was crazy or something to use that was new. And I don't see really any of these things pushing the needle towards, you know, using more Atlas weapons or anything like that. And so kind of disappointed with that. Firmware, Skillcraft now receives the proper amount of stacks when dealing skill damage to enemies. Deadeye 2-piece now functions as intended with intended projectiles. High Caliber 3 Pierce now functions as intended with Atlas tracker grenades. Get throwing now properly increases heavy weapon ordnance damage. Once again, like, would love to see some actual shakeups to firmware meta. This isn't really, you know, all these things are just like kind of bug fixes. Like, what I mean by that is, like, even if we don't get new content to the game added constantly, if they buff something or change something in a way that it makes new builds viable and new gear viable, that is, you know, the equivalent of giving us something to do. Because, I will go out and farm those new weapons that are, super buffed, or the new firmware, and make some builds with it if it's worth using. Looks like we've got a bunch of animations and audio changes, audio and visuals, bunch of miscellaneous stuff. I'll have this linked in the description if you want to check it out. Some split screen changes, like to see that. Split screen was a little bit rough, so hopefully that feels a lot better. Player experience, visual optimizations, improvements to stability. And then we get our weekly encore boss is the leader Willem. With the weekly wild card is the Borstel Ballista from the All Charged Up mission, and Maurice's Black Market Vending Machine has moved. Next, they posted a roadmap for 2026. In January 29th, we've got the free content major update photo mode that's happening today. Our next update is Bounty Pack 2 with the pearlescent rarities. Then Story Pack 1 is going to be Q1 2026. I'm expecting to see this around March. Then we've got Raid Boss 2, our first takedown, Bounty Pack 3, Bounty Pack 4, Bounty Pack 5, and then Story Pack 2. This should also come with a new Vault Hunter. Not a huge fan of 3 bounty packs in a row, to be honest. I wish it was like bounty pack, story DLC, then bounty pack. Just means we're going to have to wait quite a while for the next DLC for the game. And obviously the story pack DLCs are like the biggest, most exciting additions. So quite a while after this next one. But that is our roadmap. And then they've also said that we're going to be doing performance improvements, new endgame activities, cross-save support, limited time events, and things like that. They also had a post along with this. We're continuing to work on improvements to the base game based on community feedback. These include highly requested features like cross-save progression, as well as shared progress across your account for things like SDUs, map progress, and activities. Okay, I'm glad they mentioned this because I was kind of hoping to see this today. Sounds like they're still working on getting you the ability to share progress when you're making like new characters. That's probably one of the bigger frustrations I've seen in the community for why people, kind of make like one character and move on. They just don't want to deal with the annoyance of doing all their SDUs again. We also know more endgame content is important. We're working on new activities and content, including a new raid boss, a takedown, and more. First major update of the year is now live. That includes photo mode, bounty pack, story pack coming. Over the next 2 months, we'll see premium content updates for Borderlands 4 that expand on the story. In February, our second bounty pack, Legend of the Stone Demon, will be available. And our first story pack, Vault of the Damned. Bounty Pack, Legend of the Stone Demon, gives you a new mission and legendary loot to collect, as well as a themed vault card, 24 cosmetics, 4 pieces of gear. Bounty Pack 2 will be the first piece of paid content. Legend of the Stone Demon marks an important loot chase with pearlescent gear, a new rarity with power levels superior to even legendary gear. This new rarity will be available to all players regardless of what edition Borderlands 4 they own. Cool. Following Bounty Pack 2, we've got Mad Melee, introducing all new region of Kairos, new story missions, and the first new Vault Hunter for Borderlands 4 Cash, Pog. About Ellie. Cash, the new Vault Hunter, is a former casino dealer bot turned a drifter who chases the probability-breaking highs of cursed Eldritch artifacts. Similar to other Vault Hunters in Borderlands 4, Cash has 3 unique action skills to choose from and can enhance his abilities via 3 branching skill trees. Full powerful. Okay, so not any like new information. Additional upcoming features. On top of everything planned for the new content, we don't have set timelines for these yet, but we're eager to get these features into your hands as soon as possible. Level cap increase. We'll increase the Vault Hunter level cap for all players in future updates. Cool. Personally, I'm excited for that. I know some people don't like level cap increases. I think that'll be very, very fun. Cross-platform saves. Cool. Shared progression. This is another much asked for feature. We want you to easily explore other Vault Hunters and even alternate builds on the same character. To help with that, we're working on shared progression, so you'll be able to start new characters with all your hard-earned progression, including collectibles, map progress, fast travel unlocks, SDU tokens, vault fragments, glide upgrades, vehicle locks, and hover drive upgrades. Huge. Okay. Hopefully that's soon. They should really try to implement this before Cash goes live. Like, that should be their big goal, is get this live before Cash goes live, because a lot of players will come back for Cash, and if they have to do all the SDUs and everything again on their new Vault Hunter, It's going to be probably pretty frustrating for a lot of people. So hopefully they get this locked down and happen it soon before cash drops. And then they're planning on doing more free events, building out endgame content. More endgame content is on the way. Bloomreaper. Borderlands 4's most difficult endgame mission yet will come in the form of a new takedown planned for free major update. Cool. Best loot in the game to date. Second raid boss. We're also working on additional endgame activities. Please, for the second raid boss, don't have like 30-second immune phases. Please. Each big content drop is rolling out alongside a free major update for all players. We wanted to use this time to share a quick reminder of the difference between monthly major updates and weekly minor updates. Gotcha. Here's to more mayhem in 2026. For the location of Maurice's black market vending machine, you're going to want to travel to the Hungering Plain. I just traveled to the launch pad, drive down, and then on this building, you can just kind of like jump up to the second floor of this big building where the tower is. And then right below this massive tower, literally can't miss it, is Maurice's black market vending machine. Looks like I got the Phantom Flame and the Hot Slugger in mine. Not a great week because those don't have like a ton of weapon part variation, but yours will be different. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know what you think of our first major update of 2026. I still personally was hoping for more, but, you know, it is what it is. Guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Peace.